This is not just a list of secret lovers or whispered rumors. This is a story of rebellion, told with language that would make a sailor blush. Today, we're unmasking the 5 most gloriously vulgar women of the era and telling the scandalous, sinful, and absolutely true stories the studios tried to bury forever. Number 5. Tallulah Bankhead. Tallulah Bankhead was born into the Southern elite as the daughter of the U.S. Speaker of the House, but she lived her life like a back-alley brawler with a royal title. She stormed Hollywood and Broadway not as a demure actress, but as a force of nature with a voice that sounded like it had been aged in bourbon and gravel. She was famous for her razor-sharp wit, her unapologetic hedonism, and greeting everyone from kings to janitors with her signature, booming personality. For Tallulah, the rules of polite society were merely suggestions to be flamboyantly ignored. Her mouth was her most famous and formidable weapon, firing off profanities and shocking statements that became the stuff of legend. She once famously quipped, quote, "Cocaine isn't habit-forming. I should know. I've been using it for years." A line that perfectly captured her brazen disregard for convention. Tallulah never whispered. She roared, making her contempt for the prudish morals of her time a core part of her public performance. She wasn't hiding her vices. She was advertising them with the skill of a master publicist. Tallulah's private life was a carnival of delightful sin, centered around hedonistic parties that would make a Roman emperor blush. In an era when such things were career suicide, she was openly and proudly bisexual, boasting of an astonishing list of lovers that included both Hollywood's leading men and its most iconic actresses, with Greta Garbo and Marlene Dietrich often named among them. She cartwheeled naked through hotel lobbies and lived with an abandon that terrified the studio heads who tried, and failed, to control her magnificent chaos. In a town built on carefully constructed lies, Tallulah's power was her radical, shocking, and absolute honesty. She understood that if you admit to everything, you give people nothing to expose, transforming potential scandals into essential parts of her brand. By refusing to apologize for her appetites, for liquor, for drugs, for men, for women, she forced the world to accept her entirely on her own terms. She proved that a woman could be utterly, magnificently vulgar and still be an undeniable star. Number 4. Ava Gardner. MGM famously called her the world's most beautiful animal. And for once, the marketing was an understatement. Ava Gardner was a North Carolina farmer's daughter who possessed a raw, earthy sensuality that seemed too wild to be contained on a movie screen. Her face was that of a goddess, but her vocabulary came straight from a dockside tavern. She loved going barefoot, drinking whiskey straight from the bottle, and dismantling the myth of the fragile Hollywood beauty, one curse word at a time. Ava's profanity was legendary, a tool she used to keep the predatory men of Hollywood at bay and assert her dominance. She famously despised the all-powerful studio chief Louis B. Mayer, referring to him with creative and unprintable insults, and was unafraid to cuss him out directly. This wasn't just foul language, it was an act of defiance, a constant reminder to the men in suits that this beautiful animal had teeth and wasn't afraid to use them. Her love life was as fiery and untamable as she was, most famously demonstrated by her marriage to Frank Sinatra. Their relationship was a legendary, globe-trotting public spectacle of passion, jealousy, and brutal, alcohol-fueled brawls that often ended with overturned furniture and screaming matches in the street. Her other affairs were no calmer, including a famously violent relationship with actor George C. Scott. Ava didn't just have romances. She had glorious, beautiful wars. Ava's ultimate power move was her spectacular act of self-exile. Utterly fed up with the hypocrisy and suffocating control of the studio system, she abandoned Hollywood for a freer life in Spain. There, she fully embraced a life of bullfights, flamenco, and unapologetic passion, far from the prying eyes of the American press. She was one of the very few stars who had the courage to tell Hollywood she didn't need it, proving that true power was the freedom to live on her own terms. What's your favorite Ava Gardner movie? Let us know in the comments below. Number 3. Jean Harlow. Before Marilyn Monroe, there was Jean Harlow, the original blonde bombshell and the woman who practically invented sex appeal on the silver screen. With her platinum hair, slinky satin gowns, and a tough, wisecracking delivery, she created a new archetype of the American woman, sexually confident, funny, and utterly in charge. She wasn't the girl next door. She was the woman your mother warned you about, and audiences adored her for it. Her on-screen persona was a scandal in itself. Off-screen, Jean was known for being refreshingly unpretentious, but her life was a lightning storm of scandal and tragedy that no screenwriter would dare invent. She shocked the old guard of Hollywood with her frankness and her refusal to play the part of a delicate star. In a town full of phonies, she was relentlessly and sometimes dangerously real. Her authenticity was her greatest asset, but it also placed her directly in the path of one of Hollywood's most enduring and darkest mysteries. The defining scandal of her life erupted when her second husband, the powerful MGM producer Paul Byrne, was found dead from a gunshot wound just 2 months into their marriage. The studio frantically pushed a story of suicide, complete with a note alluding to his own impotence, but the story never sat right. Rumors of foul play, an abusive relationship, and the involvement of Byrne's mysterious common-law wife have persisted for nearly a century, leaving Jean at the center of a grim, unsolved Hollywood crime. In the face of a career-ending tragedy that would have destroyed a lesser woman, Jean Harlow's power was her breathtaking defiance. Instead of hiding in shame and mourning, she almost immediately began a brazen, high-profile affair with the world-famous boxer Max Baer. It was a stunning act of resilience, a clear message that she would not be broken by tragedy or public opinion. Her life was tragically short, but she never once let the world see her as a victim. Number 2. Mae West. Mae West was far more than a movie star. She was a one-woman cultural earthquake. In an era of crushing censorship, she was a brilliant writer and a masterful comedian who built an entire career on her suggestive wit and hourglass figure. She didn't just play a sexually liberated woman on screen. She invented that archetype, lived it with relish, and used it to battle the moral crusaders of her day. She wasn't a victim of the system. She was the woman who broke it for fun and profit. Her brand of vulgarity was pure genius, a masterclass in saying the filthiest things imaginable without getting caught by the censors. Her entire career was a gleeful game of cat and mouse with the Hays Code, smuggling outrageous innuendos into her films with legendary lines like, "When I'm good, I'm very good, but when I'm bad, I'm better." But her most brazen act of rebellion happened long before she ever made it to Hollywood, on a Broadway stage. In 1927, the authorities finally had enough of her. She was arrested after her Broadway play, aptly titled Sex, was declared a public nuisance. Mae was charged with corrupting the morals of youth and sentenced to 10 days in jail, an event she spun into a massive publicity coup, arriving at the prison in a limousine. She applied the same philosophy to her love life, enjoying a lifelong string of affairs, with a particular fondness for young, muscular bodybuilders whom she entertained well into her 80s. Mae West's ultimate power was her complete financial and creative control over her own destiny. She wrote her own smash hit plays and films, invested her money wisely, and became one of the wealthiest self-made women in America. She took the very thing that was used to shame and control other women, an active and unapologetic sex life, and brilliantly commercialized it, turning sin into a multi-million-dollar empire. Mae West was never the joke. She was the one selling the tickets. Star number 1, Lana Turner. She was the ultimate Hollywood fantasy, the beautiful teenager discovered at a soda shop and transformed by MGM into the iconic Sweater Girl. The studio meticulously crafted Lana Turner's image as the wholesome, blonde dream girl every GI wanted to come home to. She was stunningly beautiful, seemingly accessible, and the perfect celluloid fantasy. But behind the scenes, Lana's real life was a chaotic and passionate soap opera that was spiraling toward a dark and violent end. While her public image was one of manufactured innocence, Lana's private life was a public spectacle of romantic disaster. Her desperate search for love left a trail of 7 husbands, 8 marriages, and countless scandalous affairs in its wake. Her list of lovers reads like a hall of fame of Hollywood giants, from Tyrone Power to Frank Sinatra. But it was her taste for more dangerous men that would ultimately shatter the fantasy and expose the tragic reality of her life. Lana's life imploded in the spring of 1958. Her then lover was a handsome but violent mob enforcer named Johnny Stompanato, an associate of the infamous gangster Mickey Cohen. Their relationship was a toxic storm of jealousy and abuse, and it reached a horrifying climax on a rainy night in her Beverly Hills mansion. During a brutal argument, Stompanato was fatally stabbed with a kitchen knife, and the person holding it was Lana's 14-year-old daughter, Cheryl Crane. The death was ruled a justifiable homicide, a daughter protecting her mother, but the sensational trial that followed destroyed Lana's carefully crafted image forever. The most shocking moment came when her passionate, desperate, and deeply personal love letters to Stompanato were read aloud in open court. The entire world heard the private pleadings of the love goddess, exposing her as a woman trapped in a vulgar and violent affair, cementing a public reputation for bad choices and dangerous men. Lana Turner's story is Hollywood's darkest cautionary tale, a horrifying testament to what happened when the studio's dream girl fell into a real-life film noir. Her legacy is one of surviving, unimaginable public scandal and judgment. A star whose life became a permanent blur between glamorous fantasy and tragic reality. Before we get to our conclusion, if you're enjoying this dip into Hollywood's hidden history, please take a moment to hit that like button and subscribe for more. These 5 women were labeled vulgar, promiscuous, and sinful by the establishment of their day, but looking back, those words were simply the weapons used to try and control women who refused to be contained within the demure princess mold the studios built for them. Their profanity, their desires, and their spectacular defiance were not just flaws. They were acts of rebellion in a town that demanded female perfection. They were true Hollywood royalty who refused the crown and chose to rule their own chaotic kingdoms instead. The golden age of Hollywood is long over, but its most shocking secrets are still waiting to be told. So, were these women scandalous villains, tragic victims of the studio system, or brave pioneers of a new kind of female freedom? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more untold stories from the dark side of the Dream Factory, and please feel free to click one of the videos on your screen to continue watching our classic Hollywood deep dives. See you next time.